everybody. Thank you very much, Arut, for providing this wonderful food, which again, endangering our learning process, but I'll try. I'll do my best. Okay, so we are about to start the third chapter of Tanya. First of all, do we have any questions regarding the previous material? No. Okay, so let's recap. What did we learn briefly before? First of all, we learned that before coming to this world, our soul, like on the way here, is being sworn. The person is giving an oath, which actually gives us a message that each one of us has a mission in this world, something to accomplish, and to understand what kind of oath is it. Be righteous, don't be wicked. We need to understand what these terms mean. To understand it, we need to learn something about our spiritual structure. And we learned that we have actually two souls. Every Jew has two souls, animal soul and the godly soul. And again, as we spoke before, doesn't mean that only Jews have godly soul. This term is not to emphasize any, advantage. It's just describing certain difference. There is a difference. The same way, like there is a difference in skin color between different races. There is a difference in physiology. There are certain let's say sicknesses which certain groups are more tended to have. If you ask a dentist, he will tell you that certain races have different structure of jaw. That's the reality. So there is a difference in the spiritual structure. Again, it makes sense because everything which the physical reality is a projection of the spiritual ideas, objects, phenomena, so to speak, on the screen of physical reality. Everything has spiritual source. So we said that this terminology that we have two souls reflects the extreme dichotomy which we have as Jews, which connected with the specifications of our role, our mission in this world, to connect something infinitely disconnected, physicality, this physical world, with godliness. That's what we accomplish through fulfilling our mission, fulfilling Torah mitzvahs and so on. So our spiritual structure designed in the way which complies with the specifications of our mission in this world. And we're not talking about this is better or this is or whatever. It's just different. So non-Jews, they also have desires towards good things and bad things, but these, like as I said, these two poles, so to speak, negative and positive, exist within one entity, the soul. It's also godly. It's also spiritual, of course, but there is no need to differentiate. This is animalistic. This is divine. This is godly, because they don't have such a critical split between these two elements, so to speak. Whereas these two ideas, they have different carriers, so to speak: the animal soul and the divine soul. Okay. I don't want to repeat all the previous classes again. I was blamed after the previous class that the rehearsal takes a little bit too long. But you can refer to it in the recordings of our previous classes. Again, again, but we were talking about our divine soul. Briefly mentioned the animal soul, and we'll get back to it later. But first, now we're talking about the divine soul, which is none less than the part of the essence of God, of God Himself, so to speak. And by the way, maybe more graphic, so to speak. That's the concept which we mentioned, two souls. And we also mentioned different levels of the soul, right? We mentioned three levels, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. The Nefesh, the lowest one, which refers to the level of revelation of the divine soul through the action. That's when it manages to convince or to force the animal soul, which animates the body, to do not what it desires, but what it's supposed to be doing. When this action becomes more advanced, when it comes with proper emotional mood, so to speak, that it could mean that even higher level of divine soul is being involved, reveals itself, which is called Ruach. Even the higher level would refer to the revelation of higher level of the soul, which is called Neshama. There are two more levels of the soul, Chai and Yechida, but again, we will talk about it much later. So the third chapter of Tanya starts with the following: Hine kol b'china madrega mishalish elu, nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Now, each distinction and grade of the three levels of the soul, nefesh, ruach, and neshama, klula mi eser b'chinos kineged eser sfiros elyonos shenishtalshu mehen, consist of 10 faculties corresponding 10 powers corresponding to the supernal 10 Sefirot, divine manifestations, from which they have descended. Which subdivide into two, namely 3 so-called mothers and 7 kfulis, how to say, double ones. Okay. So now we are talking. We're starting the long conversation about our spiritual arsenal, about the powers of godly soul. But before we will continue to learn bifnim, how to say bifnim, inside. We need to get some understanding of the terms. This Kabbalistic terminology, which we came to. So we mentioned that our soul, on each level, consists of 10 inner powers, which in the return divided into two groups, which we called mothers, the other we call double ones, which correspond to the supreme, the divine Sefirot. So let's first discuss this Kabbalistic concept of 10 Sefirot. We mentioned before that the way how Hashem created this world consists of few stages, few levels, which we call worlds, which are different stages of realization, of actualization of the divine concept of the plan of creation. Which we have 4 levels, 4 steps, 4 worlds, which correspond to 4 letters of the supreme divine name, which we don't pronounce. Even in a prayer, when we use this name, we substitute it for another name, which I cannot pronounce other than during the prayer, but we usually, when we refer to it, we either say Hashem, or which in Hebrew means the name, or we change a little bit the way how we pronounce. We pronounce this name as Adnai, right? You can recognize which name actually I'm referring to. But again, this is not the actual expression of that name. This name was pronounced the way how it corresponds to the letters it consists of only by high priest in the temple on the holy services of Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, not even outside of the temple. But this name, as again we mentioned before, is kind of the code of creation, code of emitting the light, the energy, transformation of the energy, and that's what the idea of these worlds, the steps, the levels of actualization of the concept of creation. So we said that the first level is the world of Atzilus, or Atzilut, the initial revelation. Then the world Bria, creation, the first formation of the initial stages of the created reality, the world of formation, the world of Yetzira, and the lowest world Asiya, action, actualization, realization, the final realization, which correspond actually to 4 stages of the creative process, which we can recognize by ourselves, since we were created, as the Torah states, in the image and similarity of God, which one of the meaning of this expression, that our spiritual structure, the inner structure of our soul, and the way how it works, comes from and reflects the way how Hashem created the whole system of creation, that divine system of sustaining the world, initial creation and sustaining the world. Our soul works in a similar way. We just mentioned in the beginning that every level of our soul consists of 10 inner powers, which correspond to some divine Sefirot. What are divine Sefirot? Let me first finish with these worlds. We said that the way of the creation consists of 4 levels, 4 stages, 4 worlds, which correspond to the similar stages of our creative process. Initial, concealment of the idea, the initial flash of revelation, eureka. Then it comes to building up the picture of the concept, the idea. Then the emotional building kind of mood to realize it, to bring it into actualization, and then the process of doing. 4 stages, right, which correspond to these 4 worlds and 4 letters of the divine name. So, according to Kabbalah, each and every world consists of the whole system of Sefirot, the channels of transformation of the divine energy, which flows from the source to the bottom of the created universe, to the created world with the creatures which exist inside of it. So each and every world consists of the system of Sefirot, 10 Sefirot. What are Sefirot? As I mentioned already, this is the kind of the channel of transformation of divine energy. What's the idea? what's the necessity to transform the divine energy, the godly light? The whole concept of tree of Sefirot, the system of Sefirot, introduced, explained in the Kabbalah, comes from the paradox of how the world can exist, how the finite world with limited creatures could be created and could be sustained by infinite God. How could be any connection? How we, little creatures, finite creatures, can communicate, can be connected, can be created by absolute, by something infinite. You know, in Greek philosophy, they had the concept of demiurge, the creative element, infinite and so on, which existed totally disconnected from the created world. Why? Because demiurge is infinite, and the world is finite, so there cannot be any connection. One of the fundamental principles of Torah and Judaism, that Hashem created this world, and He is interested in what is happening in this world, because He created this world on purpose, and He sent us on purpose with a mission. So He is interested, so to speak, in what's going on in this world, and He's involved, and He's constantly supplying energy, which sustains this world. So here comes the paradox. How the infinity could be connected with the limited, finite creatures. So Kabbalah explains it through the introducing of the concept of the system of Sefirot. How in our physical reality we resolve the problem of incompatibility, so to speak. How the vulnerable object or person could get any connection with the source of high energy, to put it simple. How can we look, let's say, at the bright sun if it's harmful for our eyes? Can we?
We can try.
For a little.
We can burn the what do you call these cells on the bottom of the eyeball. You can burn. You can burn it. Right, but through.
Cornea, retina.
Oh, you told me how we call these cells, right? And these cells could be burned, right? Especially they have a lens in the middle of our eye. Through.
You don't feel it when they're burning.
But still, you don't want them to be burned, right? It can cause you loss of the sight, right?
But those cornea now.
So how it is? So it illustrates how harmful it could be. Something high energy with the recipient which is not ready to deal with this energy. How can we make it possible? Through filters, exactly. Sunglasses, colored glasses, so to speak. How the colored glass, which enables us, just a few weeks ago, right? It was the what do you call it? Solar eclipse, and everybody got what?
The glasses for
Glasses, yes, which enabled us to look at the sun, which otherwise would be very harmful. So what does the colored glass does? It transforms the energy, the light which goes through it, reduces the intensity, right? And also, why we call it colored, because it lets through only certain part of spectrum, right? But in our in the way how we perceive, it looks like it colors the light, which otherwise is colorless or white, whatever. We call it colored now. And scientifically speaking, we understand that it now lets through only certain part of the spectrum, but the way how we see it, it makes it colored. Similarly, these filters a very good example, illustration to how the system of Sefirot works. It reduces the intensity. Yeah.
If the analogy holds, does reducing the intensity mean like light? Does it actually remove some light in order for us to handle it?
Yes. Yes, we'll lose a lot. In order to receive something, we'll lose a lot. And we'll be discussing it. Something we will lose something very essential, but it's inevitable. In order to survive and still to receive something, that's the price we pay. So that's the price. Generally speaking, that's the price. The creation, the created reality, the world, the existing world, pays for ability to exist. That we don't see God in this world. The godliness is concealed. And so far, until Mashiach comes, that's the only condition for us to survive. Because the revelation, not only the essence of godliness, even some supernal spiritual powers might cause bad damages to the mind of the person who would suddenly become the witness of such a revelation.
So the Torah is like our glasses, basically.
Oh, this is a very good point, but this is a very deep idea which we'll be discussing later on. Now we're talking about the special tools which Hashem created in order to make it possible for the created reality to exist. And these tools are called Sefirot, the channels of transformation of the divine energy. So they reduce and they provide certain characteristics to that energy which goes through them. And of course, we're talking about something above our understanding, above the reality of this world, but since we were created in the image of similarity, the logistics of our inner spiritual structure is similar to the way how this system of Sefirot acts. So we can actually use the terms from our realm, so to speak, and try to feel it, how it really works for us, to relate to ourselves, and to try to extrapolate it to try to acquire at least some glimpse of understanding of that higher reality. So let's go back to these 10 Sefirot. Again, this system of 10 Sefirot, which makes up the structure, spiritual structure of each world, could also be subdivided into four levels, corresponding to 4 letters of Hashem's name. We have one of them corresponding to letter Yud, and this is the sphere, this is the channel, which is the main on the world, in the realm, which corresponds to letter Yud, which is the highest world of Atzilus. This is Sefira Chochma. Even though the world Atzilus consists of all 10 of them, the main acting power is Sefira's Chochma. We'll discuss what is it later. First, I'll give some general descriptions, and then we'll try to describe each and every sphere. Okay. The next letter Hey, which corresponds to the world Bria, corresponds to the sphere Bina, which is the main in the world Bria. Remember what's the idea of world Bria? It corresponds to the divine understanding, so to speak. The first the beginning of the existence of something created. Then the next 6 channels, you see the level of 6 channels correspond to the letter which numerical value is 6, letter Vav, which shape has an idea of what? Transferring, radiating, channeling the energy. That's the idea of 6 Sefirot, the next level, which corresponds to the world Yitzira. And the last one, Sefira Malchut, Malchus, correspond to the last letter of divine name. To make it more interesting, I want to mention. By the way, do you notice something in this picture which might be contradicting what I just said? Who knows how to count? Ruth knows how to count. Ah, that's right. That's right. My bad. Yeah, I'm talking about 10 Sefirot, but I made 10 circles. Now, in truth of the matter, when we talk about the system of Sefirot, it's always 10 Sefirot. But if we start to count them by names, Keter, Chochma, Bina, Da'at, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzah, Hod, Yesod. I don't have enough fingers for Malchut. Oy. So there is a problem, kind of, so to speak. In the letter Yud, you see the letter Yud, the dot. Graphically, it's just a dot, but with 2, quotes. Huh? Points. One goes up, one goes down. One which goes down shows the flow of energy to the next levels. The first recipient of which is the letter Hey, the second one. But the upper point hints to something which precedes this level. There is something higher. The Yud, as I said, and the which corresponds to the world of the initial revelation, the first revelation of concept, Eureka, but there is something higher than that. And that's what this the upper point of Yud refers to. The level of will and desire, which in Kabbalah called as a Sefira Keter, which is the primary source of all the Sefirot, will or desire. But it's so sublime that when we discuss the functioning, so to speak, mechanical, in spiritual terms, functioning of Sefirot, then Sefira Keser is something too divine. We consider it as something absolutely one with the source, with God Himself. His will and Himself is one. When we discussing the mechanical interactions between these channels, Sefirot. Then on that lower level of discussion, another channel comes to our side, to our view, which is called Das, or Da'at, which in truth of the matter is not a channel by itself, truly speaking, but rather the regime of co-interaction of Chochma and Bina. We'll discuss it more in details later. I just want to explain you why we're talking about 10 Sefirot while we just counted 11. It depends on the level of study of discussion. If we're talking about Sefirot as a divine attributes, which are so lofty and which for us, all the creatures, is godliness, then that is out. It's too, too low, too feasible, so to speak. And then Keter is the first in this system of 10. But if we study it as a system, as a working system of transformation of divine light, of divine energy, then Keter becomes something too sublime, too lofty, and we still have 10, but now the doubt is one of this 10. Okay?
It's very similar to Chokhmah and Binah.
It's we'll see what it is. And again, to make so that's 10 Sefirot. 10. We understand the general idea of it. The general idea, right? It's each one transforms the divine light. Each one in its own specific way. To make it more interesting, I want to add you that the system of Sefirot is built in such a way that there's a kind of self-inclusion. One of the characteristics of this system. So each one of these 10 consists of the same system of themselves, of 10 Sefirot. Could you imagine how long I worked on this picture?
Rabbi, does it go on and on and on?
What?
The 10 and 10 and 10?
No.
Just 10 and
No.
10.
So it gives us the number of elementary combinations of 100. That's the what? Chaim. I see it's really hard stuff, huh? We need some substances to proceed it, huh?
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yes. Sure.
You said that the top level, the about Keter, how it's so holy that it's almost not even like included because of the fact that it's so incomprehensible. Is it still a filter, just a filter that we don't understand, or
It is.
beyond?
Since it is. It's as much as it's so lofty, it's so divine, so to speak, but it is still a filter. Since we can call it some divine will, desire, we're already limiting it.
So it's like
So,
if you had a control knob on this side,
comparing to the other ones, even to divine intellect, it's something supreme and incomparable, but it's still, everything is relative. For us, looking from the bottom of the created reality, it's incomparable. But I cannot even. It cannot even say comparing to the essence of godliness, which we cannot even compare it. It's something very limited. So it is a screen or filter, but much loftier than others.
in our analogy, is it like controlling the sun itself? In our analogy of the sun to our eyes, there's filters in between, but is Keter like controlling the sun itself? Not just filtering it, like the changes that we can't ever do because it's the sun?
No, every analogy, every example is limited. So I would use the filter as a just general example of reducing or transforming the flow of light or energy. It's not perfect enough to give more understanding to every level of Sefirot, just to the general idea. But even in the human structure, when you're talking about the will and desire, that to think what is it, how lofty it is, how higher it is than intellect, and so on, it might give you enough food for thought to try to extrapolate it to understanding what Keter is. But it's the source of everything else, of all other Sefirot. Okay.
There is a certain placement for each of them in this structure?
For each of what?
Like, Keter is supposed to be in this,
Top.
the top place.
You can see it. You see, it's marked with a different color. That's the Keter in this structure. But again, don't make your understanding of what I'm saying too graphic, too literal. Take these pictures, which I'm working so hard on. Still, take it with not grain of salt, but with understanding that it's just the
Base point.
Of the structure. Right.
From this, you jump to make it in your head.
It's not the picture of the divine anatomy. God forbid. Just to give us some kind of understanding, some kind of. But it's nice pictures still. Okay, now let's go to the. Let's now discuss all 10 Sefirot. I still have. I left Keter just to make the picture nicer, you know. And you see, the color of Keter could be found on another place in this structure. Where? And Malchut. I did it's on purpose because, as we said, this structure of 10 Sefirot, it makes up the structure of every world. Keser is the highest, or Chochmah, if Keser is too high for us to discuss, and Malchut is the lowest. But Malchut, on its extreme level of expression, becomes Keter for the next level. You understand? So you see, it belongs to the previous one. It's infinitely higher than the one below, but it gives the beginning for the whole structure of the Sefirot of the next level. So Malchut of Atzilut becomes kind of Keter for the all 10 Sefirot of next world, which is Bria. Again, if it sounds too complicated, first of all, don't be surprised. We're discussing something difficult and complicated, but it will be more and more understandable, so to speak. The more we'll discuss it. I said that Sefirot are the channels of transformation of the divine energy, which function through reducing the level of the energy intensity and supplying certain character to the way how this energy is being manifested through this channel.
So that's what you're using the filter analogy?
Yes.
It's transforming the energy.
It's because the filter reduces the intensity and supplies, so to speak, certain color. Again, physically speaking, we know how it works, but the way how we see it, if you take the green glass, the light which goes through becomes green, and so on. Similarly, the Sefirot, they reduce the energy, making at the end of the whole structure, at the bottom of this system of Sefirot and worlds, making it possible for the finite creature to receive this energy. And they act, each one in its own specific way, similar to how the energy of our soul being revealed and expressed through different powers, inner powers of the soul. And now let's try to discuss the specifics of this Sefirot, which correspond to specific inner powers of our soul. Which I said there are 10 Sefirot, even though I left Keter on the top of it, but it's out of our discussion. Now we discuss only 10, starting from Chachma and until Malchut. So they could be subdivided into two groups. By the way, before we continue, for the what I said previously, does it make any sense? I mean, can we continue, or are you just thinking what the heck he was talking about?
Can I ask, there are 10 Sefirot for every world? So
Yes.
there are multiple of those, like you could put multiple graphs out?
Every level consists of 10 Sefirot. Every world consists of the system of these 10 Sefirot, where each one includes in its turn the whole system of 10 Sefirot itself.
How is it different between the worlds?
How is it different between the worlds? Because on the level of the world of Atzilut, it's at the level of complete connection to the source. It's just the first revelation of divine energy. So the main sphere is Spheres Chokhmah, and we will discuss the idea of it. Maybe we should start explaining what each sphere does, and then we'll go back to the general structure of the worlds. Okay.
We're gonna do Yud K, Vav K, 10, 10, 10, 10.
We're gonna just go through the system of 10 Sefirot as they're pictured here. The previous picture was showing this certain idea of relationship between them. That's why they grouped as 3, 3, 3 with the connecting lines. That's the picture called Tree of Sefirot. But for us, we don't need all these details at that level of the discussion. So let's just see the linear structure of them, and let's go from top to bottom. So these 10 Sefirot, or we can say 10 inner powers of our soul, could be subdivided in two groups: intellect, mind, and emotions. Is usually that's how we describe the lower seven channels, but it's very not exact. So in my picture, what did I write? I don't see the
Design and realization.
Design and realization. The concept, the thought, the level of thought, and the actualization of this plan. So the higher level consists of three powers: Chachma, Binah, Da'at. Chokhmah, is the initial spark of light, which not just sparks within light. It how to say? It grabs the whole person's mind, the whole person's being, so to speak. Maybe if you're familiar with some creative process, no matter what, be it solving the math problem or making a picture, the beginning is this explosion in the highest level of your mind, your consciousness, this eureka, which totally encompasses the person. This initial flash, it's not how to say, it's not cognitive in the fullest meaning of the term, because there's no understanding there. The person cannot explain, not to somebody, not even to himself, forget about somebody else, what exactly his mind grabbed. That's the term very often used in Kabbalah and Chassidut. You grab the idea. You know, like the period of non-understanding, darkness, ends, and suddenly flash, and you feel, oh, I got it. You say, I got it. You don't say I understand it. It's not understanding yet. But it's higher than understanding. It's the essence of concept. You feel you grabbed it with your mind.
It's like knowing.
Not yet. I'm not sure that knowing would be the proper term. Grasped. Yes.
Is there a term for when you lose that concept? Like
When you lose-
you feel you have an idea and then it leaves
And it
you.
slipped.
Yeah.
It means that Chokhmah, this explosion on the level of Chokhmah, didn't go any further, and didn't go to the next level, which is called Bina, which we translate as usually as understanding. But the exact translation of Bina would be building up. It's the root of it, livnot, to build. Why? Because that's kind of the function of our left brain. The Bina receives some traces of this initial revelation. Remember, you asked me the question about the outcome of transformation. Do we lose something? We lose a lot. But that's the price we pay for receiving something. So Bina is our logical apparatus, so to speak, of our mind. Some traces of initial revelation, and not even the essence of what you grabbed on the level of Chokhmah. Some superficial parts of this revelation are being received by the tools of our logic, through which we build the picture of understanding. In a sense, our mind is something very limited. On contrary, Chachma, the highest level of our consciousness, of our mind, is the connector with the realm of infinity. It's a filter, but it's a connector to infinity. Whatever it reveals on the level of Chokhmah cannot be fully received by our logic. Forget about fully received. It's not even a little percentage. It's very little what our logic receives from the initial eureka, initial revelation. But that's something to work with. That's what our Bina, our logic, builds some picture of understanding what exactly I want to express. Self-understanding and certain beginning of planning of how to transform it, how to reveal it further, to pass it further, to bring to the final actualization. You understand what I'm talking about? Let's see, how to explain it to others. Did you try sometimes to explain something very difficult to other people, and to other people who are not on your level of knowledge, education, and understanding? So what's your task? What the problem you have to solve?
You have to dumb it down.
Exactly.
Simplify.
But
5 years
but
old.
that's already exactly. But that's already further
Deconstruct.
steps. But even on the level of your self-understanding by yourself, there is a tremendous reduction from that level when you felt, I grabbed it, I get it, I got it, I grasped it. Now you have understanding, meaning some pictures, some codes, meaning ability to express it through words, symbols, or whatever. But do you have a feeling that something very deep got lost? You just cannot express it, even on the level of your own mind. Does it sound familiar? There's a famous saying. They say that it's Chinese, that the thought which was said, мысль изреченная есть ложь. The thought which was expressed, which was said, is false. If you said it, it's already false. It might sound paradoxical, but if you think, meaning this is not not exactly, to say the least, what you're initially conceived, and that initial revelation cannot be fit into the words. But if you want to fit something into the words, you have to pay this price of losing essence, but getting at least some rays from it, some trace. Yes. Then, if you want to convey this thought to someone else, you have to apply more and more steps of transformation and reduction, especially when the recipient is on much lower level of knowledge, education, and so on than yourself. That's how this system works. Okay, so do you understand what is Bina? It's our logical apparatus of our mind.
It's like the connector between all the pieces of information we have.
You can say so, because when we receive this, when the Bina receives this trace of light which comes from Chokhmah, how it builds the picture of understanding through comparing it to other problems, ideas, and previously resolved, which are already familiar, through kind of theoretical interaction with some concept outside of your mind, and so on, building the tri-dimensional picture of understanding.
It's help us to remember new things, to anchor them to already previous information.
Right. Correct. Now, the next level after the mind, after intellectual powers of our soul, is the transformation which brings into actual fulfillment. But between the mind and action, there is a level of transition which corresponds to our feelings and emotions. We create the mood of execution, is the right word? The mood of execution of we just planned, so to speak. But between that level, emotions, feelings towards what you're going to do. I mean, we can act mechanically, but it would exactly. It won't be that very productive. Many people act like this, but it's incomparable. So it's very necessary level, the proper mood of fulfilling what you just conceived and planned. But between intellect and the next level, there's a stage, very important, which corresponds to the Sefirah Dat, which we usually translate as knowledge. Chokhmah or Chachma we translate as wisdom. Bina translated as understanding, and Da'at knowledge. But that's very not exact terms. You use it commonly for the lack of anything better. But from what I explained before, I think you can already realize how poorly these terms express the essence of these ideas. Chokhmah revelation. Bina, building of the picture of understanding. Understanding not such a bad term, but what is that, which we translate as knowledge? As Kabbalah understand, we will see this very good explanation in Tanya. It's a regime of co-interaction of Chokhmah and Bina. When it's similar, so to speak, to marriage, rather than sporadic connection, so to speak. It's when the person not just heard of something, but he lives by this idea. This idea actually forms him as a personality. Or to be more specific, how does it happen? When the Chokhmah and Bina, when the person constantly thinks about that good idea, and not just constantly, not just regularly, not whatever he has an inspiration, but regularly, like in a marriage, you live with your spouse constantly, not just when you are in the mood of being on the same territory. No, you and with the fullest intensity of these intellectual powers given to you, then it gives birth, so to speak, to the proper offsprings, which are emotions. Because when our intellect works properly, it brings forth the proper emotions from our heart. And when the connection between Chokhmah and Bina is serious, then these emotions won't fade away. It will be healthy offspring, so to speak. It means that our mind will be shaping our personality. Because when we talking about personality of the person, what are we talking about? We're not talking about his intellect. The intellect is hidden. It's inside of your mind. It's being expressed and revealed through emotional powers of the person. That's what forms personality. That's what forms interface of the person, through which we interact with each other. So when we deal with the personalities, we deal with the lowest 7 faculties of the soul of the person, and they are shaped by that, the channel which makes the synthesis of Chokhmah and Bina. Understand this?
It makes perfect sense, because that is what gives the person, like what you said, his motivation, his
motivation is a very good term. That's what that's the word I was looking for. Talking about mood, emotions, that motivation to fulfill that what I have within my mind. Good? Yes.
When you were speaking, the word I was thinking of was beliefs and priorities, and that's less likely to leave than motivation, because sometimes motivation does come and go, but if you think of it in terms of like if it's really strong, if it's what you believe in, then that shapes you, that shapes how you act.
But
Like your
so it doesn't, in the way you described it, it doesn't depend on you. It's the subject itself. If it's strong enough, if it's motivating enough, then it motivates. Do I have any say in this? Do I have any power, any influence? The answer is yes. How? Well, that's what we'll be learning. How to make it really part of our lives, and not to depend on sporadic
YouTube motivation.
sporadic inspirations which come and go. And we have this power. Yeah.
So just so far, the way you've been framing it is that like Chokhmah to Bina to Da'at, sort of, so to speak, in that Bina by itself can't just form Chokhmah, and
No.
Da'at by itself can't just form Bina. But aren't there I'm not sure, aren't there elements that do transfer backwards up the chain? Like, doesn't Da'at form some sort of building block toward Bina, or not?
Very good question. But very deep. I don't know if we are ready to for going that deep. There is, you know, the way how I describe it. This is just the first our first conversation about it. So I'm trying to simplify it, even though I have a feeling that maybe I'm not very successful in at least sometimes in doing it. So the first step in the conversation to go from top to bottom. Is there any, how to say, returning signal, so to speak? Is it possible? Of course. Of course. The whole idea of, not the whole idea, one of the principles of this system of Sefirot, not just, it's good that you asked this question. It's not only to make it possible the process of creation, we just said it, through reduction and transformation, we make it possible, you know, to finite creatures to exist and to receive some modified and reduced energy which comes from infinity. This is not the only purpose of this system. There is another function to it, to provide two-way venue of interaction between creator and creation. And it's very, very fundamental idea which Hashem wants us to. He wants to receive feedback, and this system provides this possibility. How, through which we have enough time to discuss. You know? I cannot crumble everything in one class. Actually, I was planning to discuss the whole system of 10 Sefirot, but I think we need to make a break.